Gavin Froehlich. Today I will be persuading you about the importance of teaching children about addictive design elements that can be found all throughout the technology we use and the things we engage with on a daily basis. Now, to first figure out what addictive design is, we first have to establish what graphic design is, because they go hand in hand. Graphic design includes your menus, your user interface, your user experience, your color choice and font choice, your animation, any character animation if they are present, along with their design. And these elements all come together to give you the display of information. So a designer designs interfaces to give you information. The weather app is designed to show you the weather in the most efficient way possible. Your email is designed to show your emails as efficiently as possible. And typically, these graphic design goes unnoticed because once a successful format is discovered, it is used everywhere else. So unless something new comes out and it really stands out from the rest of the crowd, you probably won't notice it. And this leads into where things can get addictive, because simple things can be put in to nudge you towards spending more money or time with the product. And one of those things that kids should be taught to be aware of is checklists. Now, checklists can be found anywhere. You may even use checklists yourself. And there's nothing wrong with the checklist itself. It's more of what happens when we complete tasks on that checklist in our brain. And that's because checking off something in a checklist is satisfying. It releases what's called dopamine, which is a chemical that comes from your brain that makes you feel good. So checklists are super simple and super satisfying, which is why you can find them almost anywhere. Even CSN's own website uses checklists to help you set up and enroll in classes. So one thing to keep in mind is the Zeigarnik and goal gradient effect. Now, the Zeigarnik effect, which is discovered by Bluma Zeigarnik, states, quote, subjects ranging widely in age tended to remember interrupted tasks better than they remembered completed tasks, end quote. So what this means is, if you make it to step 3 in a checklist that you are working on, and you can't finish step 3, you're going to remember that you didn't finish that checklist. Whereas if you completed all 5 steps in your checklist, you'll probably forget about because you did everything. And this is important because it ties right in with the goal gradient effect, which is once something is started, people tend to want to finish it. You don't want to leave things unfinished. You don't feel satisfied when it's unfinished. So one thing that should be important to teach kids is that these types of lists can be made intentional to manipulate us, in the sense that steps 1 and 2 can be really easy, while steps 3 through 5 can be really hard. So you'll get to step 3 and you'll get stuck. And well, the Zeigarnik effect and the goal gradient effect are starting to kick in because, well, you're starting to remember that you didn't complete that task you started. And within that design, they can be solutions to that checklist that involve you paying out money or spending way more time than necessary to complete a task. And a good example of this is when students did a test in which they would hand out stamp cards that you would find at a coffee house, in which they would give customers each a stamp that had 8 blank spots to complete, where every time you bought a coffee you would receive a stamp, and when you completed that card you would receive a free coffee. Now, in one example, the customer was given a blank card with 8 stamps, while in the other, the customer was given a 10-space card with 2 stamps already placed, while they still had 8 to complete. These stamps both take the same amount of time to complete. They both require 8 coffees for you to buy. but you will be more likely to complete the card that has already been pre-stamped for you because you feel like you've already started it, so you got to finish it. You have a head start. You're so close. And while the coffee example may be, well, coffee isn't that expensive, but when it comes to the games and media we engage with, it's very easy to rack up the amount of money you spend really quickly. And an important thing to note is that if a game or media has these types of microtransactions, that does not mean that the game is bad or is harmful to children. It's just important that we teach kids that these things do exist and that kids should watch out for it. So it's okay if you spend $5, but maybe it's not so good if you're spending $500. And another important thing to keep in mind is the way that the app, game, software keeps you coming back. And the most common way is it gives you that sense of dopamine again. So dopamine, just like from drugs and alcohol, can come from some type of reward, a like, a laugh, you learn something that makes you feel good inside, that makes you want to go back to that app because you saw something funny. And a common way that you will see is the daily login bonus, in which you'll notice in this example, it'll cross off that today you earn this currency. Now, you will notice that in this example, a checklist has been formed of sorts in which one is already crossed off, and if you come back tomorrow, so will the next one. And right here is where the Zeigarnik effect is coming in, because you're going to remember, hey, I didn't open that app, I didn't log in, I'm not going to collect my bonus. And now you get stuck in this endless cycle because tomorrow will always come, so you keep coming back and you're trying to complete a checklist that can never be completed. And so why does this matter? When are we going to teach our kids this? The school system is kids already have a whole lot to learn, but that's quite simple because kids are already being taught about the dangers of dopamine when schools teach them about the dangers of drugs and alcohol. And the dopamine effect that takes place when you experience that daily login bonus is the same effect in your mind that happens when you engage in drugs. So, and then another thing that could be said is, well, this seems pretty complicated for kids, but not necessarily. If you think of kids as less experienced adults, and you just give them examples that they can connect with, they will understand your point and they'll be like, oh, I've played that game, I've seen these systems in place, I understand what's going on. And while teaching them may not solve the problem completely, because the problem unfortunately cannot be removed because can be found almost anywhere. So if we teach kids about the dangers of addictive design and teach them to use their time wisely and show them that while it is okay to engage in this stuff, do it in moderation. Thank you.